Hello, my name is Anna Solomon, and today we are going to talk about solving inequality questions. I am going to share my screen so you can see where I am going to get the worksheet from. This is a great website called kudasoftware.com. You can see up here to the up on top, kudasoftware.com. If you go to free worksheets, you can see all the different kinds of math that they have worksheets for. In this case, we're going to go to Algebra 1, and then they've got I love this site. But today we're going for inequalities and multi-step inequalities. So we click on that and a PDF will come up. This is printable, and it'll have a bunch of questions, and then the answers are the second set of pages. So you can check your work immediately. But here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into that worksheet. So solving for inequalities is the same as solving with if it were just an equal sign instead of an inequality sign for the most part, right? There's a lot of that you just do the same things. So the first thing we want to do, like let's look at number 1. We need to combine like terms. So I'm going to copy this down on the bottom. 3 is less than negative 5n plus 2n. Negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3n. And then, okay, they're going to start us off right here. The difficulty with inequalities is that when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you will have to flip the sign. Okay, so in this case, we are going to divide by negative 3 because we want that n by itself. 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1. We're going to end up with just n here, and then this sign needs to flip. So it's going to face the other direction now. Okay, so if you have it divide by a negative number or multiply by a negative number, the sign will face the opposite direction of the original sign. All right, so then we can read this as negative 1 is greater than n, or we can rewrite it with the variable on the left, which is how we usually see it. So n is less than negative 1. And I think of it, I see the inequality looks like an L, and that L stands for less than. You can also think of it as a mouth, and the mouth turns towards the bigger item. So now we're going to graph it. So we go to negative 1, we're going to put an open bubble around it. All right, when it is less than or greater than, you're going to have an open bubble. If it is less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, you're going to have a closed dot, which means that that number is included in your list. All right, I'll say that better in a moment. So if n is less than negative 1, what does that mean? Could n be negative 10? Yeah, negative 10 is less than negative 1. So I'm going to shade in that direction. I'm going to draw my arrow just like that. Another way to think about which way the line will go is to look at the inequality, and you see how it's kind of an arrow already. So you can, if you do it this way, variable on the left, number on the right, think of it as an arrow and have it go the same direction. All right, let's go on to I'm just going to go down the line here and see what happens. The way that CUDA software worksheets generally go is that the first ones are simpler, and then they get more complicated. So we will see how this goes. All right, next one. So first things first, we need to combine like terms. So negative p minus 4p. So that is going to end up being negative 5p is greater than negative 10. All right, and then we're going to have to divide by negative 5 to get p by itself. So dividing by a negative number. So what does that mean? It means we're going to have to flip that sign again. Flip that sign. So I'm going to get, so this cancels out. So I got just p by itself. And then less than now, negative 10 divided by negative 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2, and negative divided by a negative is a positive. So we have p is less than 2. So I'm going to go to my number 2. All right, open circle because it's just less than, not less than or equal to. And then which direction am I going to go? The arrow is pointing to the left. But I can also just kind of check it and say, okay, well, P is less than 2. 0 is less than 2. So I'm going to draw my arrow in such a way that it includes 0, because that's where the lesser numbers are. Okay. All right, let's keep rolling. All right, finally, we have a equal to option. So let's go ahead and let's see. We're going to combine some like terms. So I have 9 is greater than or equal to negative 2m plus 2 minus 3. So 2 minus 3 is minus 1. All right, now I'm going to move my number over because I have to move. It's kind of like PEMDAS, the order of operations. I'm going to move my 1 over by adding. So I get 10 is greater than or equal to negative 2m. And then I'm going to have to divide by negative 2. They don't give you a lot of space to write, do they? And then I'm going to just have to write this over here. 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. Flip that sign. And then these guys cancel out. So I've got just m. So I could write it as m is greater than or equal to negative 5. So let me find my negative 5. I'm going to do a closed circle. All right. And then m is greater than or equal to. So that means that my other options are all going to be bigger than negative 5. All right. And so we have that closed dot versus that open dot. The closed dot means that negative 5 could be the answer. M could equal negative 5. Up here with number 3, we had P is less than 2. P is not equal to 2, but it could be equal to 1. You see what I'm saying? You cannot include that number if you have an open circle, but a closed circle means that it is in the list of acceptable answers. All right, let's keep rolling. So with this one, we're going to have to do some math before we can even get to the inequality part. So let's see, we've got 122 minus 6. Let me go ahead and do that part, minus 6. So that is 116. And then the rest of it, negative 4, and then 6n plus 7 is greater than or equal to. All right. And then my next step is going to be to distribute this negative 4. And I want to be careful. A lot of students get things wrong because they only do it for the first number and they forget the second number. So negative 4 times 6 is negative 24n. Negative 4 times 7 is negative 28. So minus 28 is greater than or equal to 116. And then so now I'm going to have to add 28. Add 28. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and do that right here. So 6 plus 8 is 14. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 1 again is 4. So 144. All right, so where are we now? This canceled out. So now we have negative 24n is greater than or equal to 144. All right. And all right, I got this far without a calculator, but I'm officially grabbing my calculator because I'm not doing that. So, all right, so we've got 144, and then we're going to have to divide by negative 24, right? Which means what? Means we're going to have to flip that sign over to less than or equal to. So we're going to have n on this side, and then 144 divided by a negative 24 gets me negative 6. All right, so n is less than or equal to negative 6. Here's negative 6. And is that going to be an open or closed circle? It's going to be closed, right? Because it is equal to. And then the arrow will go that way because that's where all the lesser numbers are. And that's the way that it looks right here. All right. All right. So you can see they're amping it up too. Like they're making these more difficult by putting more mess in, basically having to do more steps. All right. So let's go on down to number 11. Get out of all this mess. It's stressing me out to see all this writing. All right. So, all right. First things first, we're going to combine like terms. So -8 plus 2 is -6x minus 16 is less than -5x plus 7x. All right. And you want to write all this stuff out because if you try to skip steps or do, multiple steps at the same time, that's how careless errors happen. And that's how you get it wrong, which is a bummer because it's not that you don't know how to do the math. It's just you were moving too fast. So yeah, this takes a little time. It slows you down and that's a good thing. All right. So let's see. What are we doing next? Oh, look at that. That's 5x and 7x. I should have simplified that. I'll do that now. So we've got -5 plus 7 is 2x. All right. And then -6x minus 16. All right. So I think a lot of us just feel more comfortable with the variable on the left. So I'm going to go ahead and move that over, which means I'm going to do -2x minus 2x, which means I get 8x minus 16 is less than 0, right? So there's nothing there now, but there will be because I need this 16 to move over. So I'm going to add 16 and add 16, which will get me 8x is less than 16. Then divide both sides by 8 and get x is less than 2. And notice this time I was not dividing by a negative number, so I did not need to do anything. I could just leave that inequality sign alone for once. So x is less than 2. So I find the 2. And do I color it in? No, I do not. I'm going to leave it open because it is just a less than. And then I'm going to draw my arrow. All right. All right, I would suggest doing some of these and then looking at the answers and seeing if you can figure it out. And if you can't, absolutely contact me or let's keep working. I'm going to work through a few more and maybe one of them will be one that is a problem for you. Let's go ahead. You know what? Let's go big. We're going to go to number 24. All right, should be one of the most difficult. Let's see how bad it is. So we've got this whole situation. So first things first, nothing to combine yet. So I'm going to multiply my numbers out to every part. So -2 times 5 is -10 plus -2 times 6 is -12. See, that should be a minus, but so plus and negative is the same as saying minus. So 12n is less than 6 times 8 is 48 minus 6 times 2 is 12n. All right. Ooh, that's interesting. Look what's going to happen. I'm going to, if I want to move my n over to the left side, I can add 12n, and what's going to happen? -12 plus +12, that's 0. So it just cancels out. It's gone. The n's are just completely gone. So that means that there is no answer for this. Let's see what they say. Let's see if I did it wrong. Oh, okay. It's not that there is no answer. It's that any number works. Isn't that interesting? So how are you supposed to know if it's any answer or no answers? They're not going to do that to you on the test, most likely. But yeah, what a strange question. So you would be able, you could fill in numbers and see what happens. Feel free to skip ahead. I'm going to go back to earlier questions, but I just kind of want to see, like, what if I divided both sides by -2? Like, divided this whole thing by -2 instead of distributing. Divided this side by 6. I'm sorry, I have to divide everybody by -2 first. That was my point. So that would mean, here, I'm going to go ahead and erase this if I can. This is why I love these worksheets, because they do things that I was never going to think of. So, all right, so -2 means that cancels out. So I'm going to end up with 5 plus 6n is great, or is less than 6 divided by -2 is -3, 8 minus 2n. And then 6n is less than -24 plus 6n. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you see what they're doing here? So you end up, you've got your 6n's on either side. And if you're going to do 5 plus 6n, oh, did you see what I did wrong? I divided by -2, but I didn't flip the sign. All right, let's fix that. I was going to say that doesn't make sense. So I probably did something wrong. So we're going to flip the sign, and then you see you got 6n, whatever that is. On the left-hand side, you add 5. On the right-hand side, you add -24, or you subtract 24. So yeah, doesn't matter what n is. The left-hand side is always going to have something added to it. The right-hand side is always going to have something subtracted from it. So it really doesn't matter. It could be any number. It could be 0. It could be 1,000. The result will be the same. So in that case, we just go all the way through. All right. Yeah. So they get into some weird stuff at the end. All right, let's see if this one's equally weird. All right, so we have this situation. Yeah, I bet this is going to be weird. Let's distribute. And so we get 3 times 1 is 3, minus 3 times 2 is 6. X is greater than 3 minus 6x. Okay, so the question is, what value for x will make this side greater than this side? Can't be done, right? They're equal. They're not, one's not greater than the other. Let's see how they wrote that answer. See, no solution. Can't be done. And notice 21 is also no solution, sneaky. All right. So they throw those on at the end. Okay. And then the rest of them are a little bit more legit. So let's go to one more legit one. How about lucky number 17? All right, here we go. All right, so first thing, we're going to look for things we can combine. Don't have anything yet. So I'm going to distribute my -7. So I'm going to write very neatly because this has got a couple of steps in it. -5n plus 6 is greater than or equal to -35n. And then we have -7 and -6. So that's going to end up being +42 minus 6n. Now we have some like terms to combine. So I'm going to look at those guys and say, okay, so this is still -5n plus 6 is greater than or equal to -35 and -6. So it was -35, and then it's going to move even lower down the number line to an even smaller number. So that's going to be -41 plus 42. All right, and then let's move our variable over to the left side. So plus 41n plus 41n. And so that is going to be 36, positive 36n plus 6 is greater than or equal to, it's canceled out, and that's just 42. All right, and then I'm going to subtract 6 minus 6. And what's that going to get? It's going to get me that 36. So 36n is greater than or equal to 36, divide by 36 on both sides, and I get n is greater than or equal to 1. So back up to my number chart, find the 1. I'm going to fill in that dot, and then n is greater than or equal to, so it's going to go that way. All right. And that is how you solve inequality questions when they give you the equation, and that is also how to graph them on a number line. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions or additional problems that you'd like worked on, please just contact me, and we'll talk it out. All right. Have a good day, and thanks for doing this with me.